thank you for joining us again today for another round of the South Shore Business Spotlight Series. We're meeting some of the awesome people in South Shore area and Apollo Beach. And today I have Teo Leonard, Captain Teo Leonard with me. And I'm Joel Meek, so thank you so much for coming today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Teo is, not only is he the owner of Web...
Yeah, it's the Web Design Ninja, but it started out as IT business consulting because when you've been in this business for 30 years, everything has to kind of morph, you know.
Yep, so the Web Ninja.
Yep.
And he's also the unofficial, whether he asked for it or not, the unofficial mayor of Apollo Beach. So,
Thank you.
So that, first, before we get into business and things, now you're not from this area, you're from somewhere else. How did you get here and where are you from?
Well, I was born on Fort Bragg. My father was in the Army, and then grew up kind of in Indiana. And as soon as I was old enough, I left and went to California because I think the main export business of Indiana and Ohio and stuff seems to be their children. But then came back, left from California, went to Purdue in Indiana, and then was in California for many, many years and island hopping and stuff like that on my boat. And then met my wife, who's from Minnesota, so we were in Minnesota for a little while, and it was snowing. It's like cold up there. Mm-hmm. So we found Apollo Beach via the internet, really, right before Mirror Bay opened up, and so we came down, bought a house, and fell in love with it. So we've been here about 15 years.
Well, good. Yeah, we came probably about 12, 13 years ago, so we must have followed you.
Yeah.
We came from Chicago, so same thing. So, at some point you got to get out. Now, outside of being a business owner, what are some of the things you enjoy?
I love going out on the boat. Mm-hmm. I used to love golfing, but unfortunately we got rear-ended by a kid that was texting and driving and had a little neck and back damage, so I don't get to golf as much as I want to. And I need to get back more into it, but I'm also a magician, so I kind of miss performing. So I got a couple things I'm working on and see if I can get back into performing some magic again.
Well, good. I've seen a few of the short things at various business meetings, and you do it. You do a great job.
Thanks.
So maybe that'll be another thing at a happy hour or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
So in terms of your business, Web Design Ninja, how did you get started?
Well, I took a break when I graduated from college. I worked designing computer chips and worked with various products on how to integrate those chips and implement them, and then got involved with a technology business, and I was encouraged to write a book about what we consider now to be the internet. At the time there was no, the internet kind of didn't exist. There was no graphical interface, there was no World Wide Web. It was about some file sharing and application sharing and email. And so we got involved. I wrote a book. Somehow that made me the de facto expert on the internet. And I think there are about 38 websites in existence when the book was ready to go to press, and I had to quick rewrite a couple chapters and add all this stuff about Mosaic and the graphical interface of the web. So that was a good time. I never wanted to build websites. I loved building servers and networks and connecting computers all over the world together. But we kept getting more and more requests for fixing other people's websites. They had a graphic designer or a marketing team that, decided, okay, I could build a website, and in essence, they really couldn't. Any neighborhood kid can build a very simple website, but it gets complicated to understand the intricacies of how people actually use the site. And there's a big philosophy behind how people click, how people interpret things. And when that was one of my majors in college, was also philosophy, so we're just kind of naturally good at it. So I don't know, about a dozen years ago, we became 99% web and 1% network and computer tech, and instead of the other way around.
Okay, so it's not so easy a caveman can do it.
It's not. It's kind of like the insurance. Picking the right insurance.
I've heard.
It's
Yeah.
I hate the commercials. You can do a website in under an hour. I'm like, that's impossible.
Maybe.
You could. Is it going to work for your business? No. Is it going to cost you money in the long run? Yes, it is, because you're going to lose customers.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of professions. So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Same as everything else.
what about what some of the challenges you've run into? Maybe one or two challenges over the years that you've had, and how did you encounter it? How did you fix it, or
Sure.
could you fix it?
Our biggest, looking back at the history, it's cool because we've been in business for 30 years. We've taken a couple breaks with some other businesses that we've purchased and bought and invested and sold, and we've always had the business though. The one thing that was the biggest challenge is when we got started, we got the attention of a lot of large companies, and at one time we had 99 of the Fortune 100 on our software list that was using our services, And the problem with those large companies is, they don't want to pay. I mean, they do. They pay very well, but in 90 days or 120 days or 180 days, and you're paying your employees and your expenses, and the cash flow is tough. And then with the large projects, don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool building a $600,000 website, but the project, it's like full steam, and then we got to stop for 2 months while there's a whole bunch of meetings and refocusing, and then you're full steam, and you have to find where to put your employees and to take care of your employees. That's one challenge. The other challenge is, as we've morphed away from those issues, we have several small to medium customers. It makes everything flow a lot smoother. The challenge with the smaller customers is exactly that. It's so easy that caveman can do it. We have the Intuit ads or the GoDaddy ads where you can build a website and it's free and it's easy, and you're going to build a website and magically you're going to have 1 million customers. And building these projects take time and skill and knowledge, and there's value to it. And I think most of our customers in the end will tell you it was a great decision to hire us, but that sales process is a bit of a challenge. And so our best customer base is the people that we do small jobs for. We repair something for someone, and then they realize the value. Mm-hmm. But those are those are two simple things. And then of course finding the right employees. Mm-hmm. That's a problem with everything.
Yeah. In fact, that was a question a little bit later on, but we'll go ahead and jump to it. What does your team look like? Is it employees? Is it contractors? I mean, how big is the team, or small is the team?
Employees. We basically have 9 people. Mm-hmm. I have a couple that are overseas. Originally, I'm not gonna use anyone overseas. They're employees of ours. They've worked. My lead designer's been with us for 10 years. We posted something around 20 some ads trying to find the right designer, and we would get hundreds of applications in the States. However, they would not have they wouldn't include a cover letter, or they don't even put their name on the email, or they would text the office line, and the lead in is, I'm interested in the job. I want to be paid $75,000 a year. I want an I-5. I'm going to work from home. I'm not going to come into the office. I'm going to pick my hours. You're going to give me 3 weeks vacation. And this gal reached out from overseas and said, hey, I'm interested. I don't meet all your criteria, but if you will bear with me, I think I have a solution to it. And it caught my attention. I'm always up for creativity and creativeness. So we brought her on board on a trial basis, and she's been with us for 10 years. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to find the good working people. We're very blessed. We have a great team, and everyone can do everyone else's job for the most part, but like for graphic design, we have one person that does it pretty much all day, every day, and she's also a photographer. And then we have somebody that specializes in programming and e-commerce and shopping carts and functionality of that aspect, and somebody that functions in the security and the background cores of the sites. Myself and my project manager, we manage the projects, work with the customers, and so we kind of have just a nice little assembly line that moves on.
So in terms of the overseas, does it add a lot of complexity to, I guess, employment, or is it something that somebody can do themselves, or do you need to get other people involved?
Well, in the case of my one employee, we have customers and business associates in Europe, and so we actually set up a European company, and she's an employee of a European company, and so we simply pay the company in England, and then they pay her salary.
Okay.
So in essence of, and the other one, even though they're quote an employee, they're basically a 1099 because it's a contract with another company to do that. But we consider them employees. But yeah, it just with the one in Romania, it made sense to set up another company.
Because I'm sure a lot of people, the first thought of, now I'm going to cross borders or oceans, immediately panic or stop. So it sounds like maybe don't necessarily rule that out, just find the way to do it if you have the right person.
Yeah, if you have the right person, definitely invest the time into it. We use Skype, so we are on Skype together all day, every day. We do video conferences. We had a meeting before I came in this morning, and we share screens and work together, and it works very, very well. On the rare occasion, there's not much need to have everyone in the office. With the technology available, we can take a picture of the whiteboard and our notes.
So what have you enjoyed most about being an entrepreneur? You've been one for not just this business, but pretty much your life.
For several, yeah. I guess the freedom to do what I want to do. My friends that know me know I'm very opinionated. I think that comes with the territory. I also want to be rewarded for the effort I put in. I mean, I get a lot of flack. People are like, oh, when he gets up at 4 a.m., well, that's sleeping in for me. I've been blessed with the ability to not have to sleep a lot. So I like work. I took a break, even kind of being a boat bum, and still was immediately bored, and you have to come up with things to do. And so I like work. And so I can't imagine working for someone. I've had a lot of offers to make a lot of money doing a job. It's just not as fun. I don't know.
I'm with you.
I don't know what it is. I think you make less as an entrepreneur. You also make more, but you have a lot more freedom if you have the right team to support you.
Yeah, I've heard a little thing where entrepreneurs, are the only people who will work 80 hours to avoid working 40.
Yes, that's the nail on the head right there.
So what does a typical day or week look like? How much of it is overseeing the team? How much is it, development or reviewing things? How much is marketing? I mean, how's it for you?
Well, it depends on, I get up very early and I check my emails. Then I look at Facebook and I review customers of ours that we look at their Facebook and social media as well. Then I have a brief meeting with 2 of my overseas employees, and we go through SEO targets and results for certain customers that we manage the search engine stuff for. See if anything's out of the ordinary. Also, at that time, we check the servers for any signs of hack attacks or issues. And we go through and we have a project list and we start working on the projects. At that point, then my project manager comes in and is now working with the employees to follow up with customers. A big part of our challenge is actually getting the content from the customers. We offer content writing as a service. Most people are like, oh, I don't need to buy that. I can do it myself. But then you wait 6 months to a year to get the photographs and the couple of paragraphs that we need. So a big part is working with the customers. We have a fundraising process that we've built for online raffles. So I'm always looking at other modules and pieces for websites that we can build to then sell as a software or a service. And so I spend a couple hours almost every day looking at opportunities for that recurring income. Right now the company is still very much me. People buy a Teo website. I want a Teo website. I want to move that away to our brand so that the company can be passed down to the employees and let them have it and run it. So I spend a lot of time researching other things that can put the business not so much on autopilot, but at least so everything's duplicatable.
I do think that's probably one of the, in addition to finding the right people, finding ways to, again, not automate, but to pull yourself out so that people can run the company without you.
Correct.
It's a challenge. And some entrepreneurs don't want to do it. They like it being them, but I think you do get to a phase where you realize, you know what, it's too dependent on me. So
it is, and not that I want to sell it. There's definitely value in the customer list and things like that, but I'd like to have something that can live on. I've changed. That 5 years ago I didn't care about that, but now it's more of I want to build this for the employees to have and move forward.
What skills would you say have helped you the most to have success in the business?
This is actually going to be the funny part about this interview is my philosophy classes. When I was going to school for an engineering degree, and I did the computer engineering and electrical engineering, I was trying to figure out, okay, I got to take some of these humanity courses. They're probably worthless, do you take sociology or psychology or whatever? And I met with the department chairs and said, what can help me in the job? And of course, psychology, sociology, like, well, nothing. I mean, they didn't have anything. The philosophy professor was very much like, hey, this is going to teach you how to argue, how to think, how to process, how to debate, and how to problem solve. So you should really take philosophy. And so I did. And I got to say that was the best skill that I ever acquired throughout life in general, to apply logic to things. It seems that there's a piece of that that's missing in today's society. Though we look at it and I can solve a problem. And even with my employees, they'll come back and go, well, we can't do that. I go, yeah, we can. It's not that hard. So I can come back and outline, okay, we know this information, let's put these two together. Okay, let's break out where this equals that, and now display this portion of it. And they're like, oh, give me an hour. And then they can build it. But it's that problem solving, philosophical point of view.
I would have never thought of philosophy in that way, but
well, it's the Aristotelian logic. The whole if A then B.
So good advice.
Yeah.
And then how about advice for someone who's maybe contemplating getting started, whether it's in business or in maybe even a computer business? Just
sure.
Maybe one or two pieces of advice.
My advice is, as a business owner, you have to realize your priorities going into business. First, your priority is not you. So many people are like, well, I'm going to have a business, and I'm like, you don't understand. Your first priority is to save the money and build your war chest for those troubled times. And you have to be willing to work. You got to pay your employees first. You got to pay your vendors and supplies second. You got to put some money in the bank third, and you get paid fourth. It's kind of my philosophy. The other thing is, don't be afraid to cold call. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to put it on the website and, my website's going to get me all this business, etc. I built my business on cold calling. I went and I did 4 hours, and I told myself I'd do 100 no's a day. And 3 weeks in, I couldn't even get to 20 no's because I had so much business that I never had to cold call again. It's ugly, but it's a way to build your business, and put in the 2 weeks of hell and go after it.
Yeah, I think fear keeps a lot of people from doing that, but it teaches you a lot too.
It does.
If you want to.
Yeah, you will get every possible objection, and then you go, okay, well, you walk out the door, and how could I have handled that? You make a note, and that becomes part of your sales pitch or your information that you're going to provide on your flyers and all of that.
That is some great advice. Advice. In terms of what's really gotten you to a point where so many people know who you are in the community, with Facebook and groups and things.
Sure.
We've got the Apollo Beach Clothes group, the Foodies group. How did those come about?
I actually had only learned about the Facebook groups for not a long time before we started the Closed and the Foodies group. What happened was there's the main Apollo Beach group, and there was one admin. I think she was a realtor. I think her dog was the other admin, and so there was no policing of members, and so we had just anybody could join, and it was an open group. And so with a Facebook open group, if I comment on something on the group, people on my wall, my friends, can see my comment, but they can't necessarily see the other comments associated with it. So people are like, what the hell is this? What's this about? And so a handful of us were trying to get a hold of the admin and say, hey, can you close this so that it cuts down stuff on the wall? At the same time, it was an ad and an ad and an ad and an ad, and all it was ads, and you could get the Ray-Ban fake sunglasses and the fake Rolex watches and everything else. And so also some people were getting butt hurt on people asking them to stop bumping their ads and all of that. So there was a post that started about an empty water bottle, and I'm not going to name names because I don't think it's right, but anyway, it was hilarious, and I made some comments. Some other people made some comments, and people said, you guys are sick. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think I met a bunch of people I want to go out and have a good time with. And I think actually Jennifer King with Rodan Field said, hey, why don't you start, you should start the group. So we created the Closed group and the Foodies group, and decided to make both of them at the same time, and pooled resources from a bunch of different business owners and members of the community, and that's how the rules came about. Everyone's like, your rules are, I'm like, they're not my rules. They're what everyone agreed that they wanted. We just try to police it. So, and it's been fun. I mean, we got, I don't know, total between the different groups, I think it's close to 15,000 members. There's probably about 3,000 overlap. So it's good, and it's helped a lot of businesses. It has helped a lot of people with relationships. I think there's 2 or 3 weddings or marriages that have come out of the groups where they met at a happy hour, which is kind of cool. And every time I get frustrated with being an admin, I also look back and go, okay, there's so much good that comes out of this that we'll tolerate the bad. Yeah.
No, well, I was going to ask, what are some of the most rewarding and challenging? So it sounds like some really good rewarding things.
Yeah, the rewarding, we've helped some people. The last hurricane was good. We I think a lot of people reached out and thanked us for the continued post and the updating. We have another house on an island, and 2 years ago with Matthew, not knowing where your house is and what's going on and there was one guy that stayed, and he would post and give us updates, which led a little hope through that time of, do we have a house, do we not have a house? so we tried to, for those of us that stayed here, there were a couple of us that would post, and then other people were like, well, we know our, I'm like, but there's thousands of people that have left Apollo Beach that they left their belongings and everything. They're worried, and we're trying to soothe that. So I'm pleased, and how everyone got together. People loaned plywood, people loaned tap cons, and people came and helped other people put up shutters, and certain people had extra water or gas, and so it was neat to watch the community come together. And that's why we built the group, and it's neat when we see that happen.
And then some of the challenges that you've dealt with that it's just sometimes just shake your head.
It's the people that just get offended by everything.
It's quite a few.
and then the people that insist they don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care. I can advertise whenever I want to. Well, you can't. The village has spoken. You're out of the village. And we get people that get frustrated with us because we've had to stop. When it's reported and the rules get broke, we remove the people. That's because the default is delete and block, so it's the easiest one. We don't have we have 30 to 40 a day. We don't have the time to contact everybody in a PM and say, hey, you're breaking the rules, etc. We'll post a comment on a warning, and if they don't respond, we have to move on, Those are challenging. And then people that get upset because like I'm the web ninja. So if I post my business on a Tuesday, I actually will get, a dozen messages or comments from people going, well, you're an admin. You shouldn't be able to promote your business. It's unfair. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay, I should be able to promote it on the days that we promote it.
Just like everybody else.
Everyone else. So that's saddening, I guess, that our world and society has shifted to that point of view.
Okay. Well, I can speak for probably the large majority. We value you immensely, so thank you. You can just ignore the few. There's always going to be a few.
Yeah.
Any advice you'd give to somebody who is thinking about a group? I know I've started one or two, and I'm sure quite a few have at least thought about the idea, and then maybe even done it, and then realized, whoa, this is not what I thought it was.
You got to have multiple admins.
Okay, that's great.
Or moderators. And you can now have moderators. When we started it was very limited. Create your rules and be upfront about them, and then be prepared for the backlash.
So have thick skin. It sounds.
Yeah, thick skin. We're big. Well, okay, yeah. No steel-toed shoes on this one, but yeah, thick skin for sure. Okay. And just enjoy. And you have to constantly have more content. When we created it, we spent a couple hours looking for funnies and things to post to build themes on to create the interaction to get it to go on its own.
It's almost like a Seinfeld episode, right? It's the group about nothing.
Yeah.
Today's topic is this, and then it just drifts away, and everyone forgets.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There's the deal.
Well, it brings a lot of humor. So as we wrap things up, I'm just curious, is there anyone that, I guess, throughout any time in your life where you look and you say, you know what, that's one person I learned a lot from. Maybe I admire them, or I learned a lot from them that you want to share with people?
Oh, geez. I've learned so much from everybody. My wife, actually, Stacy, is an awesome sounding board, and it's great because she thinks differently than I do, and she's able to step back and provide a completely different perspective on challenges, and she's very much organized and by the book, so that's good. And then also my dear friend Captain Alan Spears, who ran for president in 2016 won the independent primary in California. He was my neighbor living on a boat many, many years ago, and his philosophy is don't care what other people think. Live your life and do what you want to do, and live it for you. Make your decisions for yourself. not that you have to be selfish, but to, you know, if you want to take off and sail to Hawaii, take off and sail to Hawaii. You know your consequences, but, you know, live your life. And so for that, I will always be thanking my pal Alan for that.
Well, good. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You
I
got it.
really appreciate your
Thank you.
time. That's Teo Leonard,
Thanks.
the honorary mayor of Apollo Beach. Thanks so much.
Cool. You got it.